Hello, kia ora everybody, and welcome to this video about the astrology of the week beginning Sunday the 16th of November until the following weekend. My name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar. In this video, I'm going to first of all look at the phase of the lunar month that we're in, go through the astrological transits and aspects that are happening this week one by one. Then do an analysis of the new moon chart because we have a brand new moon in the sign of Scorpio at the very late degrees of Scorpio happening on Thursday the 20th of November. And then after that I will go through sign by sign and talk about some energies and feelings and experiences that might come up with that new moon in Scorpio for your sign. So I'll be doing a sign by sign breakdown starting with Scorpio because Scorpio, it's your month. Okay, and first to introduce the Aotearoa Sun and Moon calendar. There's also the Australia Sun and Moon calendar, and you can go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order. It is set out in lunar months. It has daily aspects and transits and little notes to explain what those are about. It describes some of the characteristics of each sign and gives you some new moon questions to contemplate life with as each new moon comes up. Let's get into the video now. And just to let you know, you can go to the timestamps in the description box. Maybe I'll add them as a comment as well, so that you can jump ahead to any parts of the video that you want to focus on. Okay, let's go. Looking at the moon phase that we're in, or the stage of the lunar month that we're up to. Last Wednesday on the 12th of November, we had the last quarter moon. That is when the moon is square the sun. The moon appears as a half moon in the sky, a half circle, and the moon is waning for this whole 2 weeks, and that was the halfway point of the waning phase. So the moon is getting smaller and smaller in the sky, and this week we'll only see it as a crescent early in the morning, and as we get to Wednesday and definitely Thursday, we will not see the moon. It will be so close to the sun, we will not be able to see it. And that is known as new moon, when the moon comes into exact alignment with the sun. It's not exactly in alignment because that would be an eclipse, but it's very close to the sun, and it's known as the new moon. And it's a starting point. It's a time of potency. What are you going to begin this new month in the next lunar month, building up to full moon? During that new moon phase, the 2 or 3 days around that, I recommend that you don't start anything new. And if it's possible in this busy modern life, to take a few quiet moments to contemplate, to meditate, to see what bubbles up about where you want to go next in your life for the next month or so, starting new projects or developing some of your longer term projects. When we can see the new moon crescent in the sky a few days later, that's a good time to get things going. That's usually the time, I don't know, sometimes I think I should do it earlier, but usually when I see that crescent in the sky and it's very beautiful in the early evening, just above the sunset, I usually write some notes in my phone or write some notes in my journal about just some things that I want to get going that month. And I love it when I've got time to really meditate and contemplate on that. But I don't always have time, but I do try and get some notes down about some things I want to achieve in the following lunar month. Okay, and when we've got the sun and moon working together and we work in alignment with them, it adds energy and support from the universe for what we want to do. The first quarter moon, halfway through the waxing phase of the moon, where the moon is getting bigger, that will be on Friday the 28th of November, and we'll be building up for a full moon in the sign of Gemini on Friday the 5th of December. So there we go. That is what I want to say about the lunar month for now, but I will be going into an analysis of that new moon in Scorpio later in the video. So going into this week's aspects and transits, boy, there are a lot this week to talk about. Okay, so I'm just going to show you on the calendar how that looks. So the start of the week is the tail end of the Libra lunar month, where we had the new moon in Libra and we're under the Libra lunar month. And then from Thursday, when we have the new moon in Scorpio, we'll be in the lunar month of Scorpio. So that's where the aspects are described. And here is the grid, and the yellow line shows Mercury retrograde. Okay, so let's look at what those are. On the 17th, so that is on Monday the 17th of November, the Sun and Jupiter will be in trine together, and that's for 1 or 2 days. And this is setting off, re-triggering that grand water trine that I talked about in my video on the 25th of October called Flowing Creativity and Intuition. So we've got Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer currently. It's exalted there. It's bringing benefits and opportunities and a sense of expansion and even righteousness, because it's about justice. And then we've got Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Pisces, another water sign. And then we've got the personal planets going through Scorpio. So at the moment the Sun is in Scorpio, and it is setting off that grand trine as it comes into trine with Jupiter. Okay, so you can go back to that video from the 25th of October and see all about the grand trine and how it's affecting your chart, because it's over a few weeks. It's still going and it's definitely set off this week, which is really cool. Okay, so this is a great one for creativity, the Sun and Jupiter. The Sun is about self-expression and the creative expression that comes out of your soul in a joyful way, a way where you're so kind of heartfelt and joyous about it that you can take a lead on that. And Jupiter brings expansiveness, optimism, and it brings along opportunities. So this is a great time for expressing big ideas and thinking big about your creative projects. Okay, lasts 1 or 2 days, but on the same day the Sun and Saturn are exactly in trine, and Saturn is going to be lending to that energy of creativity and expansiveness and opportunity the serious side, the willingness to set boundaries, to build proper structures, to be an adult and to do the due diligence and the hard work needed to make things actually happen. So it's awesome because, a trine energy can be so flowing and easy that we actually don't get around to doing the work and taking initiative. We can just be so happy that we don't actually push out our boundaries and push ourselves to the next step. And Saturn, I hope, will help us with that, to be structured and realistic and actually do the work for the long term. Okay, all right. On Tuesday the 18th, we've got Mercury sextile to Pluto. Mercury is retrograde, of course, and it's already been sextile to Pluto as it went forward, and now it's going back over that. And Pluto is about our deep desires, our deep motivations, our deep fears as well. And because Pluto can be so uncomfortable, especially with that fear side, it's definitely there. Everybody's got some deep fears, and Mercury might make us better able to talk about those fears, but also our fears also go along with our motivations. It's like two sides of the same coin. Mercury will be allowing us in that flowing sextile aspect to be more likely to able to talk about things, journal about them, bring them out in ways that are expressed in clear words. And so that could be really helpful. It only lasts 1 or 2 days. I've had some big Pluto stuff coming up for me lately. I've currently got Saturn transiting Saturn opposite my natal Pluto, and I am suffering with some hard stuff that's coming out to do with Pluto. Very deep fears around belonging and intimacy and yeah, it's all coming out. And this could be a good day for some journaling or therapy. It'll be bringing out stuff for everyone, but especially if anyone's having a Pluto transit like I am. Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of Mercury aspects this week as Mercury goes back over aspects that it has already done when it was going forward. All right. On the 19th, so that is on Wednesday the 19th, Mercury re-enters Scorpio. It's going retrograde. It's done its first time, it's week or so in Sagittarius, and now it's going back into Scorpio, and it is the day before the new moon in Scorpio, and more about that later, because first of all, on the 20th, Thursday the 20th, the same day as the new moon, we've got Mercury opposite Uranus, and this aspect, we've had it already in late October as Mercury was going forward, as a disruptive energy. Uranus is about disruption. Mercury is about messages. They are opposite each other. Uranus wants to just do big, new, grand things. Mercury is thinking about planning and details, and it's in a kerfuffle at the moment because it's retrograde. But yeah, something disruptive could happen. Some disruptive news comes along. And it's exactly the same day. Oh yeah, it's exactly the same day as the new moon in Scorpio. All right, so that is definitely playing into the new moon chart that I'll be talking about a little bit later. But just before that new moon in Scorpio, we've also got Mercury trine to Neptune, a nice flowing aspect to do with being able to express the kind of creative ideas that come from when you're really accessing your right brain. Don't know what side right looks for you guys in the video, your right brain, and connecting with the all that is in the universe, the unconditional love, acceptance, connection between everything that exists everywhere. And from that you can get quite mystical forms of creativity and art and music. And Mercury will help to put those into something that we can speak about, write about, sing. Mercury is the expressor. Okay, so that's a great energy, but it's tied in with that Uranus disruption and the new moon in Scorpio. So many things coming together on that new moon day. All right, because also on that new moon day we have Mercury Cazimi. It's only a couple of hours after the new moon, and this is where Mercury in its retrograde meets the sun. Okay, so Mercury, it orbits the sun 3 times a year, but as we see it from Earth, it sort of is like Mercury is going backwards and forwards and traveling in front of the sun, traveling behind the sun, and that's why we get the retrogrades. It's as it appears from Earth. Mercury looks like it's going backwards. And this is the point where Mercury, from having been an evening star, and then it goes back closer and closer to the sun, and it's going to be a morning star after the retrograde, or after this point actually. This is the point where Mercury meets the sun. All right, and it's a helpful day. The rest of Mercury retrograde can be frustrating with the problems coming up with glitches in machines, communication errors, finding mistakes that were created earlier, and transport problems, cars breaking down or modes of transport having issues. But on the day of the Cazimi, Mercury is meeting the sun. It's like the sun's chief advisor is meeting the king or the queen, and this is an analogy used by one of my favorite astrologers, Lara Danchira. And this is a good time, and I've found it really works to ask the universe a question, and it will have power and perhaps a really clear answer. And I've experimented with this quite a bit in the last couple of years, and I've found that when I ask a really clear question and I've got myself in quite a peaceful state and grounded myself, got into a good space, connecting with the universe, and I've asked a question, and these are the different ways the answers have come to me. One time, the answer came, a few minutes later just popped into my head. Another time I got a very clear answer when I was talking to somebody. I had a question about something I should do, and this person said, oh, this is what you could do. And I thought, oh, yeah, exactly, that's what I need. There is my answer. So that came from talking to somebody. And another time, the answer just bubbled up slowly but surely over the following couple of weeks. And by the end of the retrograde, I thought, oh yeah, no, I know what I want to do. I have experimented with asking several questions at once. I'm not sure that worked quite so well. And again, we can ask the universe a question at any time and answers do come, but this is extra clarity. But the time I asked a lot of questions at once, I think one of the times it was like the middle of the night, and I didn't want to wake up for it, so it wasn't the exact time. And another time I was at work, everything was really busy around me and I couldn't really concentrate. So I'm going to keep playing around with that. Let me know in the comments if you do ask the universe a question, how you go with the answer for that. Okay, on Friday the 21st of November, we'll have Uranus sextile Neptune. This is the second of 5 times that is happening between now and 2027. It's a real creative one, and it's all part of the mini-trine. That's a really big feature of our astrological skies this year, next year, and also going into 2027. I've written a lot about it in the next year's calendar. Okay, you can go to my video in August, on the 23rd of August. It's called Creative Genius, where I did an all signs breakdown about Uranus and Neptune in that sextile and what that means for your sign. It's there's a lot of possibility for intuitive downloads, creativity, innovation, and thinking really big. So that's neat. And then also on the 22nd of November, hang on, just check that. Oh, sorry. Saturday, the 22nd of November, the Sun is opposite Uranus. And, of course, an opposition is an uncomfortable energy. The Sun is about our self-expression and our ego in some ways, our vitality and energy, but also our ego. Uranus is a disruptor, and it's quite an individualistic energy, and it's innovative but also unconventional and individualistic. And this could be something about unconventional ideas are clashing with perhaps more egoistic tendencies, or if you're in a leadership position, there could be somebody who's wanting to disrupt what you're trying to achieve. It's not an easy energy, but it only lasts for a day, and it can bring new ideas. So be open to some of the awakening that could come with it. Okay. All right, and then the Sun is trine to Neptune, again part of that grand water trine that we've got. The Sun and Neptune, they're both very creative. Neptune is more about the mystical creativity, that where you're connected with the universe. The Sun is more about the kind of creativity that bubbles up from within you, your soul's expression, where you create in very joyful, freely, in expressive ways. Okay, so that's a lovely creative energy. I hope you have the chance to make the most of that. And also on Saturday, 22nd of November, the Sun will move into Sagittarius. That's the end of the Scorpio season, apart from the fact that, no, it's not really the end, because Mercury and Venus will still be there for a while. But the Sun will be in Sagittarius, bringing out more adventure, optimism, enthusiasm, wanting to go off and explore things, bringing vitality and energy and shininess to those. Okay. And then we have also on the 23rd of November, Sunday, Mercury trine to Saturn, and this is a good day for planning for the long term, being realistic, thinking through the details. But it's Mercury retrograde, so it's probably going back over some plans that you already made, or some communications that you already made. Saturn is about building for the future in responsible ways, thinking about things in a glass half empty kind of way so that you can mitigate problems that could arise. And Mercury might be bringing back some issues that may have been left with some earlier planning, and so you can work through those. This is a really sensible, being an adult, working through things slowly but surely energy. Okay, and finally Mercury trine to Jupiter on that same day. And okay, so obviously we've got Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter in that trine. This is that grand water trine. These two are on the same day, Mercury and Saturn, Mercury and Jupiter. To that planning session that I was just talking about, and that revision session, Jupiter will be bringing in the sense of expansiveness and optimism, thinking big in a really good way, and able to think of expanding your projects. And there can be some expectation that luck can be involved, but don't rely on it. You've got Mercury retrograde and you've got Saturn's realism, but you can think big and benevolently and into the future. Jupiter is also about justice and wisdom and fairness, and that could be factors that you bring in to your thinking. Okay. Oh gosh, finally got to the end of those. There's so much happening in the next week. So here we go. Let's have a look at the new moon in Scorpio. And the new moon is at 28 degrees and 11 minutes of Scorpio, and it's in the evening in New Zealand around 9:45 and around 7:45 in Australia in the evening. And of course, it will be earlier times in other parts of the world, and some people will be the day before. Sorry, I haven't looked up those times. Okay. All right. So the Scorpio season started a while ago with Mercury and the Sun and Venus going through Scorpio. And at the time of the new moon, of course, the Sun is still in Scorpio, but it's coming to the end of its time. So if your birthday falls in Scorpio, that means you've got a Scorpio sun sign. This year, the new moon comes right at the end of the Sun's time in Scorpio. So we've got a new moon for the next month, and it's going to be imbued with that Scorpio energy, but it will be carrying on through the time that the Sun is in Sagittarius, because the Sun moves into Sagittarius very shortly after the new moon. Okay, so just to clarify that, like we've got Scorpio season, the Scorpio month when the Sun is in Scorpio, and then the Scorpio lunar month when that starts from the new moon in Scorpio. Okay, all right. And then it's quite a lineup for this new moon because, of course, the Sun and Moon are together, as you can see there on the chart, and Mercury is exactly with those guys. So not exactly, within minutes though. So the Sun and Moon are at 28 degrees 11 minutes and Mercury is at 28 degrees 27 minutes. Straight after the new moon, the moon will go and join Mercury, exactly. And then a couple of hours later, the Sun will join Mercury, and that is that Mercury cazimi that I talked about. This means that there's Mercury energy coming into the new moon and making stronger the Mercury retrograde energy. So, and with that Mercury cazimi at the same time, that's pretty potent, because we've got the conjunction of the Sun and Moon, and the conjunction of the Sun and Mercury, the conjunction of the Moon and Mercury. Extra power to that new start energy that new moon always brings, and to the Mercury energy, which is about our details of daily life in terms of our communication, our organization, logical thinking, networking, trade and exchange, analyzing things, researching things, categorizing things, all these ways of rational left brain thinking. There's a lot of power with that, with the new moon. And a conjunction, and in this case, this triple conjunction, represents a new start. There's so much potency there. So I do recommend, for one, spending some time, if you can, perhaps contemplating, meditating, asking the universe questions, but also leaving, not even asking questions, but leaving blank space to see what bubbles up. I will be trying to do that on Thursday. It's a busy day teaching for me, but I will be trying to spend some time doing that in the evening, especially. And over the couple of days around that, okay, what's coming up? What do we need to reorganize, replan, look into and tidy up? But even though Mercury is retrograde, it's going backwards, is that potent beginning of the new moon. Okay, and then, oh yeah, so I've just put there again those Kazemi times when the Sun and Mercury are conjunct. So that is 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours after the new moon. So in New Zealand, we are likely to be in bed asleep, but that's just the way of it. Okay, all right. Opposite the new moon at 29 degrees 29 minutes of Uranus, of Gemini, of Taurus, is Uranus. And as I said earlier when I talked about the transits, Uranus can bring disruption. It can bring uncomfortable, unconventional ways of thinking that disrupt and awaken. Truth bombs. It's edgy. Uranus is edgy. It's out there. It's out of the box, and it's very authentic, and it doesn't care about feelings when it's being authentic. So there could be some uncomfortable edginess with that, edgy feelings with the new moon, and perhaps with Mercury retrograde, and it's going back over what it's been doing, and it's already had that opposition with Uranus in late October. Perhaps this means that there's something from that late October time that needs to be revised. I'm going to pause the video while I look up what that date was when they were opposite earlier. Okay, just looking up on the calendar, Mercury was opposite Uranus on the 30th of October, and if you keep notes of things that you're up to, or you want to go back and look at your messages, see if anything came in then, something that came up. And then we also had Mars opposite Uranus on the 5th of November. That's not to do with this new moon exactly, it's not, but the Mercury Mars opposite Uranus, there's a bit of connection there because they're so close together, and that will come up again when Mercury goes back over later. All right, yeah, okay. At the same time as that discomfort and the uncomfortable truths that could come out with the new moon, or the uncomfortable disruption or revolutionary ideas, there is that supportive and big picture, I'll say big picture trine, because it's the big outer planets, including Neptune, Saturn, and Jupiter in trine with that new moon. Saturn is at 25 degrees of Pisces, Neptune is at 29 degrees, so the new moon at 28 degrees is really close, and Jupiter's at 25 degrees, now going retrograde, of Cancer. And so that new moon is really playing into whatever is this bigger, longer term project or story. I'll say story more than project, because, it's like these bigger things like the Saturn-Neptune story, which started when they were conjunct at the end of 2020, exactly on the summer solstice in New Zealand, winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, summer solstice in the Southern Hemisphere. That was the beginning of a big new story that lasts for, I've forgotten now. I think it's 20 years. 20 years, yeah. And themes that will be playing out and unfolding over the next time, and this is the opening trine. Earlier last year we had the square, and that was bringing discomfort and things that needed to be sorted out, but the trine between them is about something going quite well with building for the future and unfolding in positive ways. You can go and see a video that I did with Ksenia, my astrology teacher, at the end of last year. I think it came out just near Christmas, maybe it was even solstice, and we went so deep diving into that Saturn Jupiter story, and I'll link that video in the description. Anyway, that trine between those two is triggered by the new moon. It's set off by the new moon in a really positive way, and by positive I mean supportive and flowing. So we've got the kite formation, and you can see there, like if I just completed the little triangle there, so we've got the opposition with Uranus and the new moon here at the apex, and then the triangle between them, and that would form a kite. And that is a really strong configuration that's really been playing out, because we've got the mini grand trine between Pluto as well, which I won't even go into now, but Pluto's in the mix too, because it's only very close to Uranus and very close to a sextile with Neptune. There's so much flow and support for great new themes and stories all together for our personal lives and for the world. And it's part of a big story that's unfolding over really strongly next year, and it's been unfolding this year. Just new worlds, new pastures that we're going to be entering into, our eyes lifted up to great distant horizons and seeing things in new ways. And through that, of course, when you're traveling into new country and exploring new territory, there are challenges along the way. And one of the challenges can be with this Uranus opposites the new moon, where there can be some, discomfort, disruption, unconventional thinking that's uncomfortable, a truth bomb. All right, so we need to work through it, obviously, and Mercury with the Sun on the Kazemi will be helping with that. Okay, it's all very exciting. I'm really excited about the astrology of these few years of the mid-2020s, and even starting from 2020. I'm rambling now, but I will go back. In 2020, we had these incredible lineup where we had Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, and Jupiter was conjunct as well at nearby times. And of course, everything just came to that standstill with COVID and the lockdowns, and then it was the start of all these new themes and energies and developments and movements for the whole world and for our personal lives. And now we're in this mini grand trine between the mini grand trine between the outer planets Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus with Saturn involved. That's really helping something new and grand to grow. I know I've talked about this a lot in my videos, and possibly I'm rambling, but it is important. Okay, so that is my analysis of the new moon. And so I think some disruption, but some real potency with Mercury and the new moon conjunct, and then the support from Saturn with its seriousness, Neptune with its compassion, its unconditional love, and its connection to higher consciousness or other worldliness, and then Jupiter bringing its beneficial energy, its sense of justice and rightness and ethics and optimism and opportunity. So let us see what unfolds. Okay, here we go with an all signs breakdown, sign by sign. What does this new moon mean for you, starting with Scorpio? Scorpio, the new moon is in your sign at 28 degrees. This will especially be affecting you if your rising sign or your sun is in the later degrees of Scorpio, and your moon, which is more about your internal feelings and responses to things, and even the story that you tell about what's happening in the world. Okay, so this is Thursday evening, and later in the evening Mercury will be conjunct that new moon, and Mercury is retrograde in your house. You are reviewing things about yourself, your identity, your body, your physical presence in the world, and the ways that you present yourself to the world, how the world sees you, what you reflect back about the world. The first house is about everything in your life if it is your rising sun sign. And if it's the sun, it's more about your career and your soul, your purpose in this life, your expression, your self-expression. So it's really strong. And so there's some real powerful review and a new start coming out of that review with that new moon conjunct Mercury in your first house. You're seeing everything from the light of a new beginning and reviewing things from the past. Especially Mercury rules your 8th house, which is to do with your partner's money, investments in your life. Also, it's a house of crisis and transformation through crisis, so there could be some of that coming in. Mercury also rules Virgo, which is your 11th house of your groups of friends, rewards from your work, like your pay from your work or other rewards and perks that you get from work, sense of satisfaction even, and your long-term goals. So those are all really big things. And at the same time, you've got Uranus in your 7th house of partnership. So there could be some kind of disruption coming from your partner, whether that's a business partner, client, somebody that you work with on a one-to-one basis, or your actual life partner, somebody you're in a committed relationship with. Maybe they are rocking the boat, shaking things up, and it's not very comfortable. There's no avoiding it though. Whatever they're saying or doing, it's the truth. It's coming from a place of authenticity, and there could be bids for freedom, or they could be talking about doing things in a more unconventional way, and it might be uncomfortable for you. But you have Mercury and the new moon in your sign, which is giving you a chance to have a new start. But also with the Mercury Kazemi that night, there's a chance to ask the universe a question about things. And Uranus is uncomfortable, and it is unconventional, and it's disruptive. But because of the nature of it being truthful, like, is it not better to know the truth? The truth will out. And sometimes we need to have that hard facing up to it. And from there can be work to say, okay, how can I use this? How can I analyze this in a mercurial way, like through thinking it through rationally, logically, and that might help to deal with it. At the same time, you've got Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house of your children, your romance, your creative projects. There could be some help from that area. And you've got Jupiter in your, let me think through, Jupiter's in your 9th house, so that can be really helping. That's the area of travel and exploration, higher learning, philosophy and belief system. So, and if you have a spiritual practice or a set of spiritual beliefs, they could help you with some of this disruption. So there we go, Scorpio. Please go, please go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Australian or your Aotearoa New Zealand Sun and Moon calendar. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. And all the best for that powerful new moon. If you are Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Sagittarius rising, because if you are Sagittarius rising, this is about your body and your physical presence in the world. But the new moon is in Scorpio, which is the 12th house, as far away as you can get from your physical presence in the world. So that means, just checking my microphone's not pressing any buttons, that means that the new moon is in your 12th house, and it's known as your house of self-undoing. It's where you come away from the world, and that can be in a couple of ways. In terms of like practically speaking, it might be where you're just escaping from your everyday life. It might be where you're watching some TV, reading a novel, journaling, doing creative artwork that maybe nobody will ever see, things that you do that nobody knows about. It can be where you eat a whole lot of chocolate that people don't know about, or other slightly addictive behaviors. It can be where you're going to places like care homes or hospices, even the SPCA, where it's kind of separate than the world out there of your ordinary life. But it can also be about where you connect with unseen energies that are to do with eternity and all that is, that seem like really way out and unrealistic in everyday life, but they're all around us. And you can kind of connect with your eternal soul through the 12th house, and through perhaps meditation and creative work that is connecting you with the universe and mystical things. All right, so the 12th house can be a great area to sort of remember that there's more to life than what we can see, feel, touch. And there's a new moon in that 12th house of yours. All right, if you are a Sagittarius sun, that is more about your creative expression, and the sun is very much out in the world. And if you've got your sun in Sagittarius, it could be a new start to do with your career and your status in the world. And if your moon is in Sagittarius, it would be more about feelings and the ways that you respond to the world, even the stories that you tell yourself about what's going on in your life. So you've got a new moon in your 12th house, and that is a chance for a new start, especially with that potency of having Mercury Kazemi on the same day. A really good chance to connect with spirits, connect with the universe through meditation. I do recommend that you take some time out, because it's pretty potent energy. You could be getting messages from the beyond, from the above, from the universe, even more so than the other signs, because it's the 12th house is already about connecting with those energies. But at the same time, you've got Uranus in your 6th house, and the 6th house is completely opposite the 12th house. And it's very much about mundane, everyday reality of the practical, tangible details of life. It's about your daily work and the tasks that you do on a daily basis, who you work with, where you're going every day for work, or how you give service in the world, whether that's through volunteer work or through your paid work. What's practical service, not spiritual service so much. Practical service is spiritual, of course, but practical things that you are doing to help others in the world. The 6th house is also about how you organize your daily life and your routines. Okay, Uranus in there could bring some disruption at the time of the new moon around those few days. All right, and the kinds of disruption that could come from the 6th house could be some disruption from work, like a shocking revelation could come up about something to do with your daily work or the places and the ways that you give service, or a shocking truth could come out about your health, because the 6th house does have to do with health and sometimes ill health. So I hope that that's okay. With the 12th house connection to spirituality there, that might help you think about the bigger, more vast nature of life and existential reality. And it might remind you that some of those mundane matters of daily life, of the sixth house, like work and health and the health of the body, in some ways overall they don't matter, but of course they do matter in our earthly reality. So there's some work to do there, perhaps, with whatever disruption comes out. Okay, Mercury rules, of course, it's the opposite sign. It rules Gemini, which is your sixth house, Sagittarius. Sorry, no. Mercury rules Gemini, which is your seventh house. Okay, and that's the house of your partner. And Mercury also rules Virgo, which is your 10th house, the house of your career. And these topics or matters could be coming into play with whatever is going in with your 12th house. And perhaps that means that your partner can be helping you out, or something to do with your career. Maybe if you're getting like some kind of notice from work that your job's going to end, it might help you remember that really actually that job I've got is not helping me with my long-term career goals. So there could be something there. Or where there's a health matter, it might be that your partner is supporting you through that. So that's the way that it could play out. All the best for it, Sagittarius. Some discomfort, but you've also got support from it, from Saturn and Neptune in your 4th house and of home and family, bringing good structure, good planning, good realism from Saturn, and bringing even more connection with all that is. And your ruler, Jupiter, is in the sign of Cancer, which is your, it is your 8th house. So that's your partner's money. Could be that your partner's money can help you out with something to do with your health or your work, or not having work, or whatever it is. Or it's also the house of like investments and taxes, and it's a house of occult mysteries. Could be that doing some sort of occult practice could help you out. And it's a house of psychological transformation, which goes really well with the 12th house actually. So lots of support there, Sagittarius, for whatever might come up. Please go ahead. Where are my copies gone? I'm pausing while I find them. Please go to Sun and Moon Calendar to order your Australia or your Aotearoa New Zealand edition of the 2026 Sun and Moon Calendar, and like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. All the best for the new moon in Scorpio, Sagittarius. If you are Capricorn, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Capricorn Rising, the new moon in the sign of Scorpio, with the extra potency of Mercury being conjunct the new moon and having the Mercury cazimi a couple of hours later, that's happening in your 11th house. So that is setting off things to do with your rewards from work. So that could be something about your pay or other rewards or perks that you get from your career. It's also about friendship groups, the groups of people that you belong to by choice. And it's also to do with long-term goals. And when you've got a new moon in that 11th house, it's a good chance, especially with Mercury being retrograde, which is about revising and reviewing. It's a chance to review any of those things, revise your long-term goals, take some time to meditate, ask the universe for some guidance about what do you want to aim for in the future. It's a chance to review your friendship groups and the organizations that you belong to, especially where there's some kind of common cause with those groups. Okay? And at the same time, there could be some kind of disruption coming from your 5th house, all right? And that's where Uranus is sitting. Taurus is your 5th house. The fifth house is the house of children. Maybe a child is being more rebellious, or there's been some kind of truth come out about something your child has been up to. It's also a house of romantic partnerships, so people you're going out with or dating, not a committed relationship, but people that you're having fun with and in a romantic connection with. Perhaps an uncomfortable truth comes out, or perhaps with your children or romantic partners, there are bids for freedom or for unconventional ways of doing things that might not suit you, especially Capricorn. You tend to be fairly conservative and traditional, and that's okay. We need people to keep the traditions going and to keep that the line of respect for the past and the ways of doing things in the past. But when Uranus comes along, that can be more challenging for you, perhaps Capricorn, than for other signs, because you are traditional usually. Of course, you're Capricorn, but you will have Uranus somewhere in your chart, and you will have Aquarius in your second house, and that means you have definitely ways of thinking outside the box, but there's a lot of tradition in you. Okay, all right. So that disruption from your fifth house, it can also come from children, partners, romantic partners, but also from creative projects. And it could even be coming from you, like some kind of hobby that you love to do, you have loved to do, or some kind of entrepreneurial project that comes from your heart. You are joyful while you're doing it and playful. And then suddenly you're thinking, oh, this just feels too small and boring for me now. I just want to break out and do something differently. Uranus could play out like that. And you've got the chance, that potent new moon conjunct Mercury, to rethink things, ask the universe for some guidance, and maybe do things differently because of it. You've got support as well from Saturn, your ruler, which is in your third house. Okay, so, and Neptune's in your third house. They will be supporting by helping you think, in the case of Saturn, realistically, practically, willing to do hard work to sort things out. Neptune will help you with some unconditional love, forgiveness, mercy, especially if there's people being misbehaving, like children or romantic partners, and thinking about the big picture in terms of like unconditional love. All right. And then you've got Jupiter in your seventh house, the house of your partnerships. Perhaps your partner is helping out in some way with whatever's going on in that fifth house with that disruptive Uranus, and that could be really good. Okay, so the disruption, the truth, whatever it is, it has to come out, but there's a lot of support for dealing with it. Mercury rules your sixth house, Gemini. That's about daily routines, how you give service in the world, your daily work, how you look after your health. And it also rules your ninth house, Virgo, which is about travel and higher learning and belief systems, your philosophy of life. Those could be coming into play in that 11th house of your long-term goals and your rewards from work and your friendship groups. So some kind of exciting new start. That's also a review that also brings disruption, but there's support to work through it, Capricorn. So all the best for that. And please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Australia or your Aotearoa New Zealand edition of the 2026 calendar. And all the best, Capricorn. You've got great ability to be real, to be practical, to think things through, and be willing to work for the long term. This is a house of long-term goals. You're really good at doing things in a long-term way, Capricorn. So all the best for that. If you are Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Aquarius rising, the new moon in the sign of Scorpio, conjunct with Mercury, bringing extra potency and perhaps a revision, because Mercury is retrograde. That is happening in your 10th house, your career area, your status and your reputation in the world, and in a way the legacy of what work you do in your life that you want to have a legacy with, that there's something that is changed in the world that goes into the future. That is all to do with the 10th house. So the new moon there is a new start that comes every year around about this time in your career house, but it's very unusual for the new moon to be with Mercury adding that potency, the Mercury cazimi, a couple of hours after the new moon. So if you have some time to meditate and reflect and contemplate that day and see if there's chances for things to just come into your mind, to pop up from within or from the universe helping you, there could be some wisdom and really useful advice there. Okay. At the same time, Aquarius, you guys are the ones ruled by Uranus. Uranus is your modern ruler, and Uranus is in your fourth house. Okay, it's in Taurus. It's just come back into Taurus. You've been going through Taurus. Uranus, your ruler, not really you, but your ruler Uranus has been going through Taurus for 7 years. It went into Gemini. It's just come back into Taurus. So you've had disruptions in your fourth house, your home, in your family of origin, your properties that you own. There's been disruption there for the last 7 years, and there's some more right now, especially with Uranus opposite that new moon. So there could be a truth bomb about your home, somebody in your home that's acting in a disruptive way, in a rebellious way. They want to break free, or you want to break free of your home, or it's just some kind of disruption to do with houses or the people you live with or your home. But the new moon in your 10th house, well, is in a clash with that, is making it difficult, and you've just got to work through that and ask the universe for guidance. And at the same time, you've got some help from your second house, your house of finances and your possessions and the money that you earn and your sense of self-worth. And that is because Saturn is there, your ancient ruler, making you be sensible and realistic. And Neptune is there, helping you remember about unconditional love and acceptance. That could be acceptance of yourself, helping bring a little bit of magic. And then Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer at the moment, trine to these. And Cancer is your 6th house of your daily work and your daily routines for health. And maybe by working through some of those daily routines, doing your morning exercises, keeping clean, organizing your house, going to work and giving service in the world, plus that second house of your possessions and earnings and your sense of self-worth, that could help with whatever is going on with your home where there's this disruption. Maybe it's about cleaning up your house, giving a bit of time to organize and sort out. Maybe it's with looking at your finances and organizing those. Whatever it is, there is support. So there's disruption with this new moon, but then there's support for it, and there is this potent triple conjunction of the new moon, sun and moon, together with Mercury cazimi, and a really good chance to access some clever thinking from the universe, some brilliant download. And Aquarius, you guys are so good at brilliant downloads. You have these flashes of insight and brilliance, and you make connections between things that seem disparate, and that could help you out with this. Uranus is your sign ruler, so you guys tend to go around being a bit quirky and unconventional, and bucking against the system and finding ways to do that actually work in the world. You lead the way in so many ways. You bring out new things and new ideas, unconventional things that later on might just become what everybody does. You started with your just your different way of seeing things. So you might be kind of more comfortable with this than the other signs, but all the best for that new moon. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa New Zealand or your Australia copy of the Sun and Moon calendar for 2026. All the best for it, Aquarius. Keep thinking outside the box. You guys are really cool. You shake us all up, and it's very good for us to have you around. If you are Pisces, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Pisces rising, the new moon in Scorpio conjunct with Mercury Cazimi, so an extra potent new moon, is happening in our 9th house. This is a house of foreign travel. It's a house of higher learning, like university learning. It's a house of belief systems. Whatever is the star that we follow, what do we believe in that we're subtly, actively, or passively trying to bring about for the world because we believe that this is the right way, the spiritual practice for the world or for ourselves in our lives. A brand new start there that comes along at this time roughly every year, but we don't normally have that extra power, that potency of Mercury conjunct with the new moon. And with that, there's some kind of review happening because Mercury is going backwards. So we're rethinking something at the same time. I recommend to myself, because I am Pisces rising, I recommend that you spend a little bit of time when you can contemplating, maybe going for a long walk and letting your mind just wander, or actually meditating to see what kind of wisdom can come to you with accessing that energy that's around us with that new moon, where the universe could be helping us with some things, and there's this great potency for new beginnings, okay? But at the same time, Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, recently moved back there, and that is our 3rd house. And it's just there for a few more months, but it's exactly opposite this new moon. And that could be bringing some kind of disruption in our house of the 3rd house, which is about our neighborhoods, our community, our networks around the neighborhood, how we travel around the neighborhood, so driving, walking, biking, whatever you do on the bus. Our trade and exchange, do you go to the markets? Are you buying stuff from the local shops? Are you exchanging goods with others, like swapping things from the garden? Also small businesses and social media. The 3rd house is about so much to do with our ordinary, everyday life, how we go around about the community. It's also our relations, not our children, not our parents, but our other relations like aunties, uncles, cousins. Some kind of disruption, maybe bids for freedom, maybe shocking truths that come out with that Uranus opposite the new moon. Okay, so we just have to work through it, ask the universe for guidance, remembering that when Uranus brings something shocking, it is actually usually for our highest good in terms of it's truthful, it's authentic, and the awakening that can come from it can be very good for us, getting us out of our comfort zone. Okay, we've got support from us ourselves, Pisces, because Saturn is in our 1st house, the house of our bodies, or if it's your sun sign, Saturn is being really realistic about how you create and express yourself in the world. If it's your moon sign, Saturn is helping you be realistic about where you can put your emotions and where you give your energy and your support to other people and nurture other people. You have to be realistic. You can't do everything, okay? And Neptune is back in our 1st house for a last little visit. We've had Neptune going through our 1st house, making us more confused, more vague, but also more spiritual, creative, and a little bit magical for the last 14 years. Those two are in our house in a lovely trine with that new moon, and that is a supportive energy. So there's a lot of strength that can come from us with those there. And then Jupiter, which rules us, our ancient ruler, Neptune being our modern ruler, Jupiter is in our 5th house, which is about romantic partners, our creative projects and hobbies that we do with great joy and heartfelt enthusiasm, and children. All right, so there could be some kind of support from any of those, and from the strength that we have ourselves, the realism that we've developed with the last couple of years with Saturn in our 1st house, helping out with that disruption over the new moon in Scorpio, and the Uranus opposition. So all the best for that, Pisces. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Australia or your Aotearoa New Zealand edition of the 2026 Sun and Moon calendar. And Pisces, whatever happens, we've got that Neptunian ability for unconditional love and flow, and being able to, having that mutable energy, that means we can go this way, go that way, and that can help us with disruptions because we can adapt. It's a superpower of ours. All the best, Pisces. If you are Aries, sun, moon or rising, but especially Aries rising, you've got a new moon in Scorpio, which comes along at this time around and about every year, but usually it's not so potent, with having Mercury retrograde Cazimi on the very same day, just a few hours later. So there's a lot of there's energy for and support for new beginnings in the 8th house for you, and there's some kind of review going on. So for you, Aries, this new moon is happening in your 8th house. That is a house of crisis and transformation through crisis. It's a house also of investments and other people's money, large amounts of money that have to do with you in your life, especially your partner's money. Your partner is represented by the sign of Libra, which is exactly opposite you, and the second house from your partner is the 8th house for you, which is Scorpio. All right, so let's go back to that crisis and transformation. I hope that didn't freak you out. The 8th house can be pretty full on. It can be a house where some deep fears come out, and through those coming out, you can transform them, or shocking things can happen and there can be transformation. And the reason I'm emphasizing that one a little bit more now is because in the opposite sign at the time of the new moon is Taurus, and Uranus is in there, and Uranus could bring some kind of disruption. It's your second house. It's to do with your finances. There could be some kind of shocking truth comes out, something that is awakening, and just like, oh wow, what just happened there? I didn't know that, and oh my gosh, that is really big, and you have to work it out. And maybe there's a feeling of crisis about that. The 8th house, where the new moon is and where Mercury is at the moment, that gives a chance to go deep within yourself, or if you're thinking not so much on the psychological level, but on the practical resources level, is to go deep into your investments and just check out what's going on, to understand more about your partner's money, where that's appropriate, and investments, inheritances. Yeah, that's on the practical level. The 8th house can also be about intimacy with your partner, like sexuality, where it's like deep intimacy, and maybe there's conversations like that coming out, and then disruption from the opposite side. So you just have to work through that, and there is some review with this because Mercury has already been opposite to Uranus. You will be getting some help from Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house. All right, so Saturn is making you be realistic and making us all be more realistic with its support for this new moon, realistic and willing to work hard. And Neptune is bringing support in your 12th house to connect with spiritual guidance and compassionate energy and unconditional acceptance. All right, and those are both in your 12th house, and perhaps there could be some kind of connecting to spirit, to the universe, through meditation, through having some time out, taking some time away from all the activities of everyday life. Meditation and journaling, connecting to spirit where you can, and asking for guidance. And at the same time, Jupiter is going through Cancer. It's exalted in Cancer. It is supporting the new moon, and it will be supporting whatever It's supporting you through whatever this disruption is. Jupiter is in your 4th house of home and family, who you live with, properties that you own, your family of origin. And so there could be somebody from your family that's helping out with this new moon, or just something about, could be just being at home and using your time at home to connect with spirit, ask for guidance, and just try and remember the bigger, unconditionally loving picture, especially if that new moon brings out any deep-seated fears or psychological layers. Remember the big picture. You are an eternal soul that is going to go on and on forever, and everything will be all right. Okay, so all the best for that, Aries. And please go to Sun and Moon Calendar to order your Aotearoa or your Australia edition of the 2026 calendar. And please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video. Aries, you've got a whole lot of vim and vigor and energy, and you're just get into things straight away, and you've got a new moon, and you probably like that energy of the new moon. If you just wait a few days and do some quiet time, some internal time, and then you can get going again with all your energy. Okay, and also, of course, Mercury is still retrograde, so there's still things to review. That's just the nature of it. All the best, Aries. If you are Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Taurus rising, the new moon in the sign of Scorpio with extra potency from the Cazimi with Mercury is in your 7th house, the house of partnership, lifelong partners, or I shouldn't say lifelong, committed relationships, or anybody that you work with on a one-to-one basis, like a close friend, a colleague, client, even like the therapeutic kind of relationship, like a counselor, but very often life partners or committed relationships. Okay, so that's a brand new start that comes along at this time of year, every year, in that 7th house of one-to-one relationship. But usually you don't have that extra potency of Mercury in its retrograde with its Cazimi with the sun on the very same day. This is a really good chance to be, if you have time, taking some time out to meditate, contemplate, see what comes, what ideas come into your mind, what understandings come into your mind from the universe. Ask the universe a question at the time of the Cazimi if you can. And remember that there is some kind of review going on with your relationships in general because of Mercury going retrograde through that house of relationships once it moves into Scorpio. Okay, Taurus, so there's that. And there's great potential with that new moon. But at the same time, you've got Uranus that is just retrograded as of last week back into your 1st house. Or the 1st house is, if it's your rising sign, it's a house of your body and your physical presence in the world and how you present yourself to the world. If it's your sun sign, especially the later degrees, whether that's rising sun or moon, the later degrees of Taurus, this will especially be affecting you. If it's your sun sign, it's more about your expression in the world, your soul's purpose in the world, even to do with your career and your identity in the world. And if it's your moon sign, then it's to do with how you feel about things that happen in the world, how you respond to the world, how you reflect on what the world presents to you. Okay, so it's especially this forecast is especially if it's Taurus is your rising sign. Okay, Uranus is back in your sign, disrupting you, especially for the later degrees of Taurus, more for them. Okay, because it's like about 29 degrees. Okay, disruption to yourself, disruption to your body. That could be in the form of health. It could be in terms of you or just want to totally change up the way that you look. Maybe you've been thinking about it for the 7 years that Uranus has been in there, and now then it went into Gemini, now it's slipped back. It could be about the ways that you see the world and the ways that you present yourself, you identify how you like your identity in the world and how other people see you in the world. You, Taurus, might be the one that is disrupting everybody else. And in the case of this new moon, how disrupting your partner or disrupting things for your partnership, all right? Maybe there's a bid for freedom. Maybe you want more freedom in relationship. Maybe you want to do things in a less conventional way, in a different way than has been going on for you guys for the last while. All right, or maybe there's some kind of truth about yourself and you say it to your partner and they're shocked. They didn't expect that about you. But the truth will come out, and authenticity is a real driving force with Uranus. And over the last 7 years, I expect that you have been finding ways to be more authentic, more true to yourself with Uranus, more free, and a little bit rebellious. Okay. Anyway, all of that can make partnership, have some problems. Okay. With the new moon, there might be some kind of new start for your partner or in your partnership. And if you're doing some meditation and contemplation, asking the universe a question, perhaps you might want to ask that about your partner or about how you want to do partnership. There is support from Saturn and Neptune, which are in Pisces, your 11th house. And your 11th house is about long-term goals and friendship groups and rewards from your work. But Saturn there is making things realistic. It's very earthy, and I think you like that, Taurus. It's patient, it's willing to work hard. I think, Taurus, you're very comfortable with that kind of energy. Neptune is bringing a little bit of a magical touch, creative, mystical, connected to everything that is, the eternal, the ephemeral, and unconditional love. All right, so that kind of support can happen with the new moon and with whatever this disruptive thing is, with Uranus opposite to your partner. All right, and then Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, exalted there and also supporting the new moon. And Jupiter is bringing, a bit more sense of benevolence, just a feeling of optimism, like things will be all right. And Jupiter can bring luck. And Jupiter's also retrograde, Saturn's retrograde, Neptune's retrograde. There's a lot of going back energy. But ultimately it's bringing us to this new moon and ways of going forward with the review periods. Okay, so all the best for that, Taurus. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Australia or your Aotearoa New Zealand copy of the 2026 Sun and Moon calendar. And Taurus, what else can I say about you? You're patient and you're steady and you're loyal, and I'm sure that your partner appreciates that, especially as the Scorpio energy that your partner probably has will appreciate the loyalty and the steadiness. And then with Uranus there, you've had 7 years of sort of disrupting things and shaking things up, but it's nearly at the end, and whatever it is, like authenticity is so important. And I'm sure that by the end of Uranus's journey in your sign, which comes to an end early next year, might be April, when it moves into Gemini for good for the next 7 years, you'll be glad that you shook things up and took a more authentic path in life. If you are Gemini, sun, moon or rising, but especially Gemini rising, the new moon in Scorpio conjunct with Mercury and on the same day as Mercury Cazimi is happening in your 6th house. This is a house of how you give service in the world, this practical service that you give to others, very likely through the work that you do. It's also a house of how you organize your daily life with your daily routines for health, for nutrition, your exercise, how you organize your life in terms of how you keep things tidy, and your systems. The sixth house loves good systems to keep things in order. All right, so there's some kind of new start happening there. There's a new moon in this part of your sky every year, but usually it's not quite as potent as this one because of having that Mercury cazimi on the same day, just a couple of hours later. Mercury is retrograde, so that will be bringing some kind of review. And the sixth house is very comfortable with details. You're also comfortable with details, Gemini, because Mercury rules you, and you'll be all connected up with this Mercury retrograde. You like details, and the sixth house is about details, and Mercury retrograde reveals details that need to be sorted out, and so there'll be some of that with that. Okay, and the sixth house is about details. Okay, so you'll be sorting out things in your daily order, your organization of daily life, and thinking of the sort of more important sides of the sixth house. I mean, like organization and daily life and life details, life admin. Of course, it's important, but we tend to minimize its importance because it seems so ordinary and little. But on the bigger picture side of things, the practical service that comes through the sixth house is a really wonderful thing, like people who do volunteer work and secondhand shops or any of that kind of service. But it can be the work that you're paid for as well, because any work that you do is giving some kind of service to the world. That's under review with Mercury retrograde, but it's also having a new start with this new moon, and it's a potent new start, extra potent because of Mercury being there, your ruler. So something about that sixth house and the new start there and the review that's going on in the sixth house is perhaps involving your sense of self, Gemini. Okay, your sense of who you are in the world, your identity in the world could be all caught up and tied in with this new moon. All right, and I do recommend that you take a bit of time out for a walk or bike ride or meditation or journaling session to kind of access what wisdom can be gained from this. What is the universe trying to tell you? Okay. At the same time, Uranus just last week moved back from your sign, Gemini, where it's been for the last few months, into Taurus, and it's opposite that new moon, and it's bringing disruption. Okay, and that's in your 12th house. So the 12th house is about the ways and that you retreat from the world, the places that you can go to retreat, and this could be just going home and chilling out and escaping through relaxing and entertainment on TV or online, or reading stories. It can also be about spiritual connection, because the 12th house is about getting away from your body and your tangible reality into more about the other unseen energies of the world and God or the universe, however you see things. And also, like, the 12th house can just be about the places that you go to or the people that you see that are not to do so much with the rest of your life. The rest of your life doesn't really know about them, so it can be even secrets, things that go on. Or it could be where you're visiting people in care homes or hospitals, hospices, or you're involved in there in some ways. Okay, so some kind of disruption from that area. And because the 12th house can be about escapism, it can be that disruption could be about too much escapism, like too much addictive behaviors, or there could be some kind of disruption from a care home if you've got an elder parent there or something like that, or something from a hospital, or just something about, or maybe you've been having an affair and people find out. Anyway, some kind of shocking truth that comes out of the 12th house. Or bid for freedom that comes out of the 12th house, or some unconventional idea that's coming out of these areas that are a bit more hidden from the world in your life. Okay, and that's playing into this new moon. There is support, however, so that kind of disruption can be uncomfortable, but there is support from Saturn and Neptune, who are in your 10th house of your career. Saturn is making you be realistic, willing to work hard for the long term, and Neptune is making you see things in a more big picture, eternal. My daughter's just walked into the room and she's tiptoeing around. She doesn't need to. I told her she could be a little bit noisy, would be fine. Helping you see things in ways that encourage unconditional love and acceptance, and help you see the eternal, forever nature of things, and that can put things into perspective. And then also we've got Jupiter in Cancer in your second house, being very, very supportive of this new moon and helping through the disruption. And Jupiter's in your second house of your finances, your possessions, your earnings, the money that you earn from whatever you do in the world. And so maybe there's something there where there's a problem, but your money can help solve the problem. The second house is also about your sense of self-worth, and with Jupiter going through there, you're probably feeling like quite, for a year, from June until June next year, Jupiter in all that time is likely to help you feel more confident in the world, more self-assured, and like you're kind of bigger, and a bit more, just confidence, optimism, opportunities can come your way for financial benefits. All of that is helping out with this new moon and whatever disruption comes. So all the best for that, Gemini. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video. And go ahead to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your copy of the Aotearoa New Zealand or the Australia Sun and Moon Calendar for 2026. And Gemini, like I said, you guys are good at the details. So Mercury retrograde, yeah, it can be frustrating, but the details are important. You guys are good at that, and you've got that wit and conversational style and ability that will help you get through a lot of things. Okay, so all the best, Gemini. If you are Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Cancer Rising, the new moon in the sign of Scorpio in the late degrees is happening in your 5th house. Scorpio is a water sign, just like you and Scorpio and Pisces. You're all really getting activated by this lovely grand flowing water trine. But at the time of the new moon, we've got Mercury Cazimi adding extra potency. So there's a new moon in Scorpio in your 5th house always at this time of year, and your 5th house is about romantic relationships, not so much like committed ones, but more where you're dating. It's about your children, and it's about creative projects and hobbies, the things that you do for fun, with joy in your heart, with heartfelt enthusiasm. Okay, and so like I said, there's always a new moon in Scorpio, your 5th house, around this time of year, but this one has extra potency this year because it's on the same day, within a couple of hours, of Mercury Cazimi. So Mercury is retrograde, there's something to review, but the new start represented by the new moon has extra potency because Mercury is conjunct, it's conjunct the sun and the moon, a triple conjunction. And so it's really like there's this chance to get wisdom from the universe, advice from the universe. So I do recommend that you take some time out where there's opportunity for your brain to, your left brain, your logical brain, to be set aside a little bit so that things can bubble up from within, or ideas, advice, wisdom can come from above. However you see that, whether you see it as just something about that your mind does, or that there actually are other energies that can give us inputs. All right. At the same time, so lots of potential with that, with some review going on because of the Mercury retrograde, but lots of potential. But there's some kind of disruption from Uranus in your 11th house of the 11th house is about long-term goals. Something could be disrupted from where you're working towards something for the long term. It's also friendship groups, some kind of disruption from your friendship groups, especially groups that have some kind of common cause or common maybe hobby, but definitely a common cause for humanity, to help humanity. Some kind of disruption there, or some kind of disruption from rewards from your work. So maybe like some kind of information comes from your career that's affecting your pay, your money that you get from your salary from your work, or other rewards that you get from work, maybe the perks that come from your job, the perks to do with networking and access and stuff like that. Some kind of disruption that's uncomfortable, maybe because it's unconventional, maybe it's a bid for freedom from some section of your friendship group that wants to split off and do something different, and it just sends everybody in a tiz, and there's all this discomfort with the new ideas, and it's not easy to resolve. But at the same time, from the 5th house, Cancer, romantic relationships, your children, hobbies, entrepreneurial projects, there's this potent opportunity for a new start where somehow you can, I hope, work towards integrating that opposite energy, disruptive energy, truth bombs, whatever's coming from Uranus. And there's support from that from Saturn and Neptune, which are in your 9th house of travel and belief systems and higher learning. Saturn will be bringing some realism, practicality, ability to work hard for the long term and build for the future. Neptune will be bringing some kind of energy of acceptance and unconditional love and the ability to flow and adapt, and maybe a touch of glamour. They'll be helping out with whatever's going on with the new moon. And also in your very own house is Jupiter. You've got a year of Jupiter going through your house, bringing you lucky opportunities, expansion, growth, and benevolence and good luck. And you'll be bringing that energy while Jupiter's there. Wherever you go and whatever you do, you're bringing some extra energy of that benevolence and generosity to everything that you do in life while Jupiter's there. And with that new moon, it is trine to Jupiter and also trine to Saturn and Neptune. So there's help for whatever that disruption is, and some of that help will be coming from you, Cancer, your inner resources, your ability to be magnanimous, not sure if I pronounced that word right, that acceptance, forgiveness, taking the higher path, or seeing the bigger picture in a generous way. So all the best for that, Cancer, and please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go ahead to Sun and Moon Calendar to order your Australia or your Aotearoa edition of the Sun and Moon Calendar for 2026. And what else can I say about you, Cancer? You guys are so good at feelings. You understand that feelings are there, and you know that they need to be nurtured, and people need to feel emotionally safe. And you have great intuition, and with this grand water trine, there's even more of that ability to connect with intuition and insight, and there's this flow. And I think where people in your life, like especially if it's say friendship groups involved or romantic partners or your children, you will have this ability to support them emotionally, because that is a superpower of yours, Cancer. So all the best. If you are Leo, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Leo Rising, the new moon in the sign of Scorpio is happening in your 4th house. This is the house of your your home, your family of origin, like your parents, and going back to your ancestors, the traditions and memories that come from your ancestors, and the people you live with, the properties you own, where you live, the house you live in. All right, so there's a new start in that area. It's a brand new start that comes along every year around about this time, but this time it's extra potent because it also has Mercury cazimi on the same day, where Mercury in its retrograde has come back to this point with the sun, is conjunct the sun, and the moon is there as well, adding extra potency to the cazimi moment, to the new moon moment. I recommend that if you have a chance, take some time out to contemplate, to get your left brain out of the way so that the right brain can access whatever is bubbling up from within, whatever is wanting to come into you from the universe, from the powers that be, whatever they are, God, angels, anything, because the new moon and the Mercury cazimi can bring that kind of messages. Okay, at the same time, a potent new start, but at the same time as that potent new start, there's a feeling of reviewing and revising, because Mercury is still retrograde, and it is, once it went into Scorpio about the day before the new moon, it is bringing up some things that need to be revised about your home and family of origin and the place where you live and properties that you own. Okay, and then there's also this disruption from Uranus opposite the new moon, coming from your 10th house of your career or your public reputation in the world, the ways that you are working in the world, building things up for the future in the world in terms of the work that you do, the legacy that you intend to leave behind, your career. Okay, all right, so could that disruption be? It could be some truth bomb that comes out. It could be some kind of shocking news, like a change that's coming to your career or your work. It could be some kind of bid for freedom. Somebody involved in your work is wanting to do things differently in an unconventional way. Maybe even you want to do that in an unconventional way, and is disrupting something in your home or your family of origin, your house. Okay, there's tension there between those two, and it is not easy and comfortable. It does have to be worked through. Okay, at the same time, there's support from Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Pisces is your 8th house of your partner's money, your psychological, deep underlying layers. It's a house of crisis and transformation, and you've had a lot of action there with Saturn going through for the last 2 years and Neptune going there for 14 years. Chunky money, as Laurie Lothian describes it, large amounts of money, your partner's money. Okay, but Saturn there is helping you to be sensible, realistic, willing to work hard for the future. The 8th house can also be about the deep intimacy you have with your partner, and Neptune can be bringing gifts that can come and go, but there's an unconditional love and acceptance with Neptune, and those two are in a position that are in a flow with the new moon, so they're helping out with whatever this career disruption is in some way. Okay, and then also you've got Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, your 12th house, in a flow with the new moon and with that disruptive Uranus, and with Saturn and Neptune in your 8th house. The 12th house is about how you escape from the world, where you do things, and where you just go to be away from the world. It could be connections with care homes, hospitals, hospices, prisons. Jupiter's there for a year, bringing luck and opportunity to this area, and perhaps some truths that come out in a more easy way. because Jupiter is about righteousness and ethics, and if there's any problems in the 12th house, like, because the 12th house can be seen as a negative house, it can be things like secret affairs or secret addictions, and it's known as the house of your self-undoing, so it's ways that you maybe don't support yourself always, but Jupiter will be bringing a protective energy, and there's something about Jupiter that could also be helping with this new moon, and it's also encouraging you, I feel, Leo, to take some more time out for meditation or contemplation, quiet time, to allow things to bubble up from within, or to come to you from higher spirit. And you can only do that when you're not too busy in your mind. So try and take some time out. And all the best for the new moon. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia 2026 Sun and Moon calendar. And what else can I say about you, Leo? Leo, you are ruled by the sun, and the sun is part of that triple conjunction with the sun, moon and Mercury in your 4th house. So you'll be bringing that vitality that you've got, that self-assurance and that ability to shine and be charismatic, and you can win people over with that little bit of a star quality that you've got. I don't know how well that relates to the new moon, but it could be helpful as you work things through with that disruptive Uranus energy. And it is a creative new start with you with any new moon, but that is Cancer, your 12th house, your mystical side, your dreamy side coming together with the way that you shine in the world. Every new moon has that for you, Leo. So all the best. If you are Virgo, sun, moon or rising, but especially Virgo rising, the new moon in the sign of Scorpio is happening in your 3rd house. This is a house of your neighborhood, your community connections around and about you, where you live, how you travel around your neighborhood, whether that's biking, walking, driving. And while Mercury is retrograde there could be some problems, extra problems with communications around your neighborhood, with travel around your neighborhood, gremlins in the machines and all that. The 3rd house is also about social networking, trade and exchange, small businesses, local learning like workshops. Obviously Mercury is going back through all these things, and there could be things to sort out. It's also relatives, your aunties, uncles, cousins, nephews, nieces. All right, any of those things of ordinary everyday life that could have gremlins in them at the moment with Mercury retrograde, but you have a brand new start with the new moon there, some kind of new start in any of those areas, whether that's going on a new course of workshops in your local neighborhood. It could be a new connection with a neighbor that comes out of it. It could be the next step in developing your small business, or it could be, if you're in school, a local school, some new project that you're working on. All right, okay. And there's extra potency with this new moon. You have a new moon in your 3rd house every year around about this time. This new moon this year is extra potent because it comes on the same day as a Mercury Cazimi. So there's some kind of extra support for getting some wisdom from the universe, some kind of download or a new idea. And I recommend, if you can, to take some time out to contemplate, to connect with unseen energies, and to maybe meditate, or something where you can keep that left brain of yours. Virgo, your left brain is very active. It's always working away, problem solving, and Mercury is your ruler. Mercury is all about that rational, logical left brain. But if you can have a bit of time to get away from all that, to quieten down that left brain self-talk stuff that goes on, and listen to what's within, or listen to what's coming from above, that could be really helpful with this new moon. At the same time as that potent new moon, In your ninth house of travel and distant exploration, connections with other cultures and belief systems, and thinking about philosophies of life and bigger picture learning, higher learning, like university learning, not local learning, the higher level stuff. There's some kind of disruption coming from Uranus there in that ninth house of yours. So maybe it's some news about some travel that you were planning, or maybe you are traveling and there's some disruption there. Or it could be some kind of truth bomb coming out about another culture that you're involved in, or something about your learning program. Okay, so, and that could be uncomfortable. And there's some kind of integration to do between that local area of your third house and this more distant stuff in your ninth house and the bigger picture stuff. You'll be getting support from Saturn and Neptune. They're in your seventh house of partnership, and that support could come from your partner or somebody that you're working on a one-to-one basis with, a counselor or somebody that you're working with in a business, or you do lots of work with, a friend that you spend a lot of time with. They could have some wisdom. Saturn is very sensible and practical and ready to face up to reality. Virgo, there's a tendency with the perfectionist tendencies, and I've got kind of a bit of Virgo energy because I've got Venus. My Venus is in Virgo. Perfectionist tendencies and trying to get things just right, and that can take up too much of the mind space. But Saturn, maybe coming from your partner, is realistic and will say, no, that is enough. That's all you can do. At the same time, Neptune in the house of your partner, so this could be coming from your partner or somebody you're in partnership with, or something from the partnership itself, the relationship, the one-to-one relationship that brings out this sensible Saturn. And with Neptune, there's an unconditional love. There's acceptance, there's charitable feelings, and there's a bit of a magic and glamour, and there's also a willingness to let go. Okay, so that can bring adaptability and just more acceptance where there are problems, and a willingness to flow with whatever's going on. And then there's Jupiter also blessing this arrangement, helping to work through the problems, bringing protection in the sign of Cancer, your 11th house of friendship groups and rewards from work and long-term goals, actually. And Jupiter can be bringing, like I said, protection, a feeling of blessing, understanding, and the ability to see and have the confidence to accept and step up to opportunities. And that could be really great. Jupiter has great generosity and benevolence, so that could be helping out. So all the best for that new moon. It is a time of revising and reviewing because Mercury retrograde is part of it, but there's also the potential for a new start with the new moon and the new awareness of authenticity, or the freedom ideas that are coming from Uranus, okay, but disruptive. Okay, please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 Aotearoa or your 2026 Australia Sun and Moon calendar. And Virgo, what else can I say about you? You have a willingness to work through details, to sort things out, to make organized systems. You love that. And Mercury is your ruler, so it's a really, you are definitely being affected by this new moon with this potent Kazemi, and you'll be willing to go back over those details, and I think you could even enjoy some of the sorting out that might be needed. So all the best. If you are Libra, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Libra Rising, the new moon in Scorpio at the late degrees of Scorpio is happening in your second house. This is a house of your money, your earnings, your possessions, your resources, and that includes your inner resources, like your sense of self-worth and self-belief, and even how you show the world, or how you look after yourself in terms of the resources that you allow yourself to have, how you adorn yourself, what kind of possessions you have, are they in good repair, all of that. All right, there's a new start there with the new moon, and there always is a new moon at around about this time of year in your second house. This one has some extra potency because it's with the Mercury Cazimi on the very same day as Mercury is conjunct the Sun. It's a triple conjunction between the Sun and the Moon and Mercury. Mercury is retrograde, and it just went into the sign of Scorpio in its retrograde, and that means there's some kind of review happening with your finances, with your resources, and maybe with your possessions. You're thinking about things. Do I really want to keep that? Am I really budgeting in the way that's working well for me and how I look after my body in this life? All right, some kind of review. But there's also a new start, and like I said, there's extra potency, like there's more chance than usual to be able to connect with higher consciousness. And I recommend that you take some time, if you can, to contemplate, to quiet down the left brain and its busy self-talk and chatter and logical thinking, to access your right brain and get some alpha brain waves going. Relax, get your parasympathetic nervous system calmed down so that you can access the wisdom that might bubble up from within or come from beyond, come from outside sources or divinity, however you see the universe or God or higher knowledge. All right, that could be accessed at this time. And at the same time, Uranus has just gone back into Taurus. That is your 8th house, and the 8th house is, instead of being about your resources, it's about your partner's resources, your partner's money. It can also be a house of intimacy with your partner, and it can be a house of money that is to do with you, but it comes from other people. For example, inheritances or investments. It's large amounts of money that you don't have immediate access to. All right. The 8th house can also be about inner psychological layers, including fears, including deep willful motivations, and raw power. The kind of feelings that are very strong and basic that are underneath, and they do drive us all. We all have them, and the 8th house can be to do with those. It's the underworld. Okay. And Uranus is in that area, so there could be some kind of disruption, truth bomb, unconventional idea, or bid for freedom, revolutionary, rebellious energy that comes from that area of your partner's money, other large amounts of money in your life. Your inner being, your inner psychological feelings could come up through intimacy with your partner, and it's disruptive and uncomfortable, and it's connected with that new moon. All right, but there's support to work through whatever this is, and of course Uranus is disruptive, but it does bring truth, and it does bring greater authenticity and the freedom that is that Uranus seeks is necessary to have in this life, like to break us out of being bound by conventionality or bound by habit. Okay, so yeah, got to be done sometimes. There is support from your 6th house, that is Pisces, your 6th house of how you give service in the world and your daily routines for health, exercise, and organizing your life, daily life admin. And because in that house, your 6th house, is Saturn, bringing a sense of responsibility, willingness to work hard and be dutiful and very pragmatic. And Neptune, which is kind of an opposite energy, is very accepting and flowing, and it brings a a readiness to offer unconditional love and acceptance and forgiveness, and an ease of going with the flow, and a little bit of magic romance in life, really. And so those two are helping because they're in a trine with that new moon in Mercury, and also in a trine with the new moon in Mercury and sextile to Uranus is Jupiter. And Jupiter is in your 10th house of career. It has been there since June, end of June, and it will be there until June next year, bringing blessings and opportunity and expansion to your career. All of those are retrograde now, so there is this going back energy, but there's a lot of flow, okay? That grand trine between Jupiter, Saturn and Neptune and the new moon with Mercury is very flowing and supportive, and will help with whatever needs to be understood about the Uranus disruption, whatever that awakening truth is, that uncomfortable truth, and to help to grow through that and reach a higher plane. But let's get back to that new moon. It is a new start in your sign of your house of resources and possessions, with that disruption coming in, but a strong new start, okay, for you, Libra, in that positions and your money and your earnings. Okay, so please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Australia edition or your Aotearoa New Zealand edition of the 2026 Sun and Moon calendar. And if I wanted to say something else about Libra, what else do I want to say? Libra, you're ruled by Venus, and Venus, your ruler, is now also in Scorpio, your second house, and so you're getting a little bit loved up in your house of possessions, like you are actually going through, Venus, you're going through that second house of your possessions and your resources and your money anyway. So it is a good time to be looking at that area. And you've also got this talent for diplomacy and negotiation and a sense of justice and fairness that is going to help with whatever this disruption is, with Uranus and the new moon and Mercury. So all the best for that, Libra. There we go, everybody. Thank you for watching my video, and I'm just gonna say what happened while I was recording. I think I was up to Leo. There was a giant crash, and it's because, just to suit this video, the wind is up today, and it blew through the bathroom and knocked off a mirror that was sitting on the windowsill, and the mirror broke. And that is, I think that goes with the topic of this video, because Uranus, it rules Aquarius. It's an air sign. Uranus brings the winds of change, and it's, you know, when you get wind and it's just gusty and blowing, it's so disruptive, it's uncomfortable, but it gets things cleaned out and it brings in the fresh feeling. So that's Uranus, and I had to stop for a while and go and clean up all the broken glass. So that could be the kind of thing that happens with the new moon, some kind of sudden disruption like that. Okay, all the best, everybody. Have a great week. Bye for now.